Today is September 11th, the 19th anniversary of the terrorist attacks on our country, and we want to dedicate this podcast episode to the first responders, the firefighters, the police officers, the emergency workers in New York City, Washington, and for Flight 93.
The following content is not suitable for children.
Lori, today, the sex improvement plan. How about that?
Woohoo! Welcome to Foreplay Radio, Couples and Sex Therapy. I'm Lori Watson, your sex therapist.
And I'm George Fowler, your couples therapist.
And we are passionate about talking about sex and helping you develop a way to talk to each other.
Our mission is to help our audience develop a healthier relationship to sex that integrates the mind, the heart, and the body.
For a great personal lubricant, please check out uberlube.com and use the coupon Foreplay to support us at the podcast. Thanks.
Here we go.
Okay.
For too long, I think the field is full of global ideas and be more intentional or just be more affectionate and all this global stuff that I don't think is too practical. I like focus, specific details, targets. Give me goals, something I can measure. I know if I'm making progress or not. I know I do that when I'm working out. How much am I benching? Am I going up? Am I going down? How many reps? I like numbers. This stuff should add up. And too often the way we talk about sex is, just be nicer to each other, be more affectionate. I don't know. It's a little bit too confusing.
Be more romantic.
Be more romantic, go on a date night, whatever it is. But
how many push-ups are you doing these days, G?
I still do my sets of 25. I don't do too
How many
much.
Sets of 25 do you do?
Hey, listen, that's just between me and myself. I'm not competing against anyone else. But today we're gonna get tactical. We're gonna come up with a plan that measures the problem and, more importantly, gives us a way to see if we're making success and what our goals, where do we want to be.
Okay.
So you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. So the first thing I want to do is I want to break sex down into pre-sex. What's all these hours before, days before, the foreplay, like before the sexual act itself?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How are we doing with that area?
Okay.
What is the sex like? And the sex I would call the immediate foreplay and up to the orgasm, right?
Okay.
The sexual act itself.
In bed.
In bed.
Or in the kitchen. Or on the couch. Whatever.
Washing machine, wherever it rocks you, right? And then we're going to go post, after the orgasm, that afterglow period. What do you do?
Okay.
So I want those three areas we're going to study. Pre, during, post.
We're going to rate ourselves. We're going to try to figure out how we need to improve there to have a better experience altogether.
Yes.
But we're going to try to talk really specifically.
Yes.
Okay.
And again, when we're rating ourselves, it's not in the spirit of being judgmental and hating ourselves. It's just trying to identify kind of honestly, if I was a fly in the wall, what would I see? What would happen in your room? Is it, if you're not happy with that number, then that's a good target to show improvement. If you are happy with a low number, hey, whatever works for you, right? But now we're going to break down into 4 categories. Your heart, how emotionally engaged are you? How focused are you on the emotional bond of your relationship? The mind, how engaged are you with your erotic part of who you are, thinking about sex and the fun, creativeness of that? How focused are you on your body? And body, we're going to break into 2 parts. Body, your overall body, your toes, your head, your fingers, your skin, all those good parts. And your genitals. How focused are you on your genitals? So it's going to be your mind, your heart, your body globally, and more specifically, your genitals. Those 4 areas we're going to talk about.
Okay, this sounds fun. This is an interesting one. Okay.
And we're going to give.
hardly wait.
We're going to give a 1 to 10 score on each of them.
Oh, geez. Okay.
So 1 with your heart is you're not paying attention to the heart. It's not really so important. You're not paying attention to the emotional bond. That's a 1. 10 would be you are super engaged. You're in love. You can just feel the power of that bond. It's like, you just want to live in that moment forever.
Okay.
One with your mind would be you're not really paying attention. You're not engaging your mind. You're paying attention to other things.
The list of all you got to do.
Okay. 10 would be you're in a fantasy with your partner. You have incredible specific details. You are looking to bring novelty, creativity, spunk into this. Like your brain is super jazzed up around the sex and kind of what it wants to do and how it wants to play.
So you're putting all your intellectual energy into it as well.
Yes.
I like that. Yeah. Got it.
One for the body would be I'm not paying attention to my body at all. I might be lost in my brain. I might be paying attention more specifically just to my penis. Like if I'm paying attention to my penis, right, I'm not paying attention to my toes, my skin, my forehead, my neck, my ears, all the different parts, the sensations, the touch that kind of allow our bodies to be more fully engaged.
I've decided you have a toe thing.
Toe thing?
Yeah.
I'm trying to find out more about myself. That's why I've given myself these scores.
Okay.
Right? A 10 would be my whole body's engaged.
Okay.
I can feel, the back of my heels on the bed as I'm moving, right? I can feel my back, my body. I'm in tune with
all
my
your
body.
Sensuality is really present, and you're aware of all parts of your body.
Right.
Kind of. Yeah. Okay. I like that.
And then the penis, right? If you are not focused on your penis, you're focused on everything else. It's just, that might be that low score. Or, a lot of men are super focused on that. It's like there's so much pressure, and it's like, are they going to maintain an erection? And like they're just laser focused on that penis, and everything else is kind of excluded.
Yeah.
That would be more that 10 score.
Is their penis hard already? All that kind of stuff. But
exactly.
we're talking about the male
Yep.
part right now, so we're not going to talk about.
Well, we're going to do both, right? I'm going to do an average Joe, like a typical guy might give these scores. You're going to give an average Jane how they might score it. And please, everybody, listen. That we're just throwing numbers out there. We're having fun with this. We're really just trying to start a conversation. There's no right or wrong numbers here. I never met somebody with a score. Don't have good reasons for that score.
Okay.
But what we're trying to do is identify if it's lower than you want, then we can start coming up with a plan for how do we increase that in much more specific, focused ways.
Okay, so this is a way to help people become aware of where they're at currently and then how to move to sort of the next level in all these different areas.
Yes.
Okay.
So let's start off with average Joe, how he might score.
Joe.
Average Joe. Joe don't know. What might be the pre-sex before we're actually engaged in the act? What might those scores be?
So, Joe, what's your pre-sex number?
4.
4. Can you describe 4 to me? What makes you a 4?
No, pre-sex, you got to get specific here. For the
Okay.
heart, the body, the penis, the mind, what are you talking about? We're going to get a score for each of them.
Okay, so I want to know what your pre-sex is for your heart. You're saying I'm an average 4.
No, my heart score would be probably like a 3. I'm not so intentional about paying attention to the emotional bond, how romantic I'm feeling. That's a lower score for me. I'd give it a 3.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What about your mind?
My mind, I would probably give a higher score, like a 6 or 7. My mind's already racing, thinking about, when we could have sex, what might it look like, might we try something different. That score is I think a higher score for me.
Okay, higher than average.
Yes.
If 5 is an average,
I'd
you're
say
kind
a
of
7.
ahead. Okay.
Yeah, I'd say a 7.
So you're a 7.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. So your mind is really in it.
Engaged.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And when you pre-sex, where's your body?
I would give that a low score. I would say my body. Well, I'd say my body is probably about a 2 or a 3.
So that means that you're. What does that mean in terms of like your sensuality and your arousal?
I think I'll notice my penis score would be higher.
Uh-huh.
Right, because I'm noticing the arousal there. Like as I start thinking about it, I notice the arousal there, but that's the only area I'm really noticing. I'm really not noticing the other parts of my body.
I just want to say something about this because I think this is so interesting. Men always tell me that. they say that the minute they think about sex, they have like a feeling at the base of their penis. Do you think that that's true for most men?
Yes.
God, I just got to say women would kill for that.
Well, I think there's a cost to that too, because of that immediate response. You're then not really noticing anything else.
So you're not noticing like your skin or maybe your touch needs in other ways or other things.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I might want to stretch. I might want, there might be a tension. There might be an anticipation in my stomach. If I was more intentional about noticing my body, there's a lot more going on than just in my penis. Mm-hmm. But I just have not really had any help listening to that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, interesting. So what number was it for pre?
For the pre, I would say my body was like a 2, and my penis would probably be like a 5 or 6.
Okay. Joe.
All right.
Okay. So now, I don't want to have to average that. I like these numbers separate.
Yes.
They make sense to me more
Maybe
separate.
We'll just take Joe through the whole process, and then we'll switch and we'll
Maybe we're going to have to take Joe through this whole episode. I mean, this is like, we got to get into this.
All right. Well.
Because it's gonna take a while. Okay, so Joe, during sex, which is pull down the sheets to orgasm,
mm-hmm.
Tell me about your heart. What's going on in your heart? What's your number?
I give it a low score, probably a 3 again, because I'm not really so paying attention to. I'm really focusing on the orgasm and on the penis. So the penis score is going to be high. You know, I don't want to lose an erection. I want to make sure, you know, so I think there's more. My penis score probably would be a 6 or 7 again.
So you think men, when they come into the bed, normally are erect? So you said, I don't want to lose an erection.
Yes. I mean, I think that's, and I don't want to have to think too much about losing it and the pressure of that. And
so that's really, I mean, if they're just, okay, we bypass the heart, but let me just stick with the penis for a minute. So if they're worried about losing their erection, they're already anxious, don't you think that that's pushing them toward intercourse pretty quickly so that they know they can stay hard until they get to intercourse, and that means let's get to it?
I think that's very common.
Yeah.
Again, these scores can be all over the place depending on the person and their own experiences. But on average, I think the during sex is pretty similar to the pre-sex. My heart's not so engaged. My body's not so engaged as average Joe. The erotic score is going to be high. I'm thinking about, you know, can we do a different, the mind, right? Can we do a different position? Can we have, you know, something new brought in? Can, you know, that's why so many men think about pornography. It's, you know, it's a way of keeping that erotic focus and that penis focus.
So they're thinking about pornography while they're in bed?
Some men, because they don't want to feel like they want to make sure they can have an orgasm, they're using that to kind of push them over the edge, which is getting them, you know, again, out of the moment, right? They're focused on their head and their penis and not so much on that emotional connection, that physical rest of their body sensation.
I don't think I've told you this. Maybe I have, but I had a patient he's hilarious, just so funny. He talks a lot about stuff, and he says, it's like when you're in bed, he says, you're trying to keep your erection, so you're thinking about hot women, but then you don't want to climax too fast, so you're thinking about dead kittens. And he's like going back and forth, hot women, dead kittens.
Right.
You know. Okay, so the heart is still kind of low. You're not necessarily engaged with your partner. You're trying to fill your mind with erotic sex to keep the erection going, and your mind is racing, and your body is very penile centric at that point. So are you aware of other touches? Like if your partner is touching your back, your skin, kissing your neck, wanting to kiss, is that like important?
I think that's all good, but not so important.
So George is shaking his head. I just want y'all to know.
Well, let's finish Joe, and then we'll take a break.
Okay. We're not getting to Jane today, dude.
Well, let's.
We can do Jane next episode.
After the orgasm.
Yeah, after the orgasm.
Right. Now my penis score finally drops. There's not going to be a high score there. We kind of forget about that whole thing, right? What is interesting in those lower scores, the heart and the body now really start to increase after sex for Joe. Right? So Joe's really wanting that cuddle afterwards. He's really now paying attention to feeling like that felt really good. I feel really connected. The hug becomes important. The spooning becomes important. So those scores probably, the body and the heart start to increase to about, a 6 or a 7 from a 3. That's a pretty big
And does he want
juice.
touch at that point, like other kinds of touch?
Yes,
soothing
I think that,
and massage and skin and
Yep.
all of that is like he can receive that at that point because the tension is over.
Yep, much more open. And then the erotic part of the brain kind of turns off too. So that score drops.
And does he
All right.
want to touch? And I know we're at time.
We're at time. No, let's talk
Hey, listen,
about...
Joe. Just cool
Joe's
on the
had
time.
whole lot he brought up here. There's lots of questions, so we'll get back to them after break.
Just want to recommend to you again, uberlube.com with the coupon foreplay. This supports us at the podcast, and it is a great lubricant. I've been recommending it for years. I give out samples to all my patients. It has long-lasting performance without that sticky residue that hangs you up when you're making love. This is scent-free. It's taste-free. It's a beautiful feeling on your skin of soft and silky. It has only 4 ingredients and 3 types of high-grade silicone. There's a trace of vitamin E. It will not impact your pH balance. It doesn't change your hormones. It won't cause allergic reactions, which some of the lubricants out there do. So this is why I can highly recommend this one. It's also recommended by other thousands of doctors globally, and it's made here in the USA. It has discreet and classy packaging, which I love because I can keep it on my nightstand. It's a glass container with white lettering. Nobody would see it as any different than a perfume bottle. It's really high class. So please check out uberlube.com and use the coupon foreplay.
Save 10% when you use the coupon foreplay at uberlube.com.
We've done 2 Facebook Lives for our patrons, George, and we try to do that once a quarter. We try to send newsletters and give exclusive material. But it's really, we are grateful for people who believe in our mission to help couples keep it hot and help inform people and help them talk about sex, help them get better at their sexual relationship.
Right, and partnering with us it's really an honor to know people are joining us on this mission, that this is an effort to produce and for the listeners to put aside time, and we hope that's valuable. But when we join forces, it's just a lot easier to get that message out there. So we so appreciate the support, both financial and just to make those ratings and to spread the word, because our world really needs it.
It does, and we get so many letters from people, not just patrons, that are grateful for what we're doing and say it's changing their lives. And so if you want to help us change the world, we would appreciate that support. And certainly this is something that our hearts are in and we've given a lot to, and you can join with us. So I am fascinated, Joe, with all that you're saying. This is so interesting. It's like this real look inside the way a man is experiencing it. Gosh, you really.
Well, there's more going on underneath the hood than what appears.
There is.
And I think it's fun for the Joes out there and the Janes, which we're going to get to just kind of break this down in more specific parts.
Yeah.
To really get curious. If you don't know a score or you're not really sure, that's just your way, your body's saying, all right, spend a little bit more time here.
Okay, so Joe, it's after sex. He's in the afterglow. I just want to finish this up a little bit.
Okay.
And he is now way open to touch. What about touching? Like when he's in the moment, touching, and how does that relate to his heart, his body, and his mind? Is it like the touching is about things that are going to move him forward in terms of excitement, or?
No, I think the touch for the afterglow is more about really appreciating the strength of the connection. that you've just experienced an orgasm, and now your body's kind of filling with oxytocin and you're feeling the calmness. A lot of people describe the sleepiness coming now, right? But that's that idea of cuddling, of your partner in your arms, right? And your body just kind of melding together, right? That you're going to stroke your partner's back, or you might rub your partner's hair as your partner scratches your back. And like this after part, it's really just the body feeling gratitude and appreciation, right? This sense of just like, wow, this is special. We're good for each other, right? It's that's where the love really comes out the most.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
And so what Joe's heart is like filled with gratitude and like, I love this woman, just kind of, what is Joe's heart feeling in that moment, the afterglow?
Exactly that. The love, the appreciation, just feeling in sync with somebody, that sense of just being in the moment, like everything's good. All the stresses are gone, all the pressures are gone. It's just kind of in that moment, just
very present.
Very present.
Very present in that moment. And I love what you said, just kind of the stress obliviated, life is concentrated right now.
Exactly.
Lovely.
And again, a lot of people don't realize that afterwards, for the average Joe, this emotional and the body scores really increase. This need to cuddle is not something they're just doing obligatory. They need it themselves, right? It's how they can be vulnerable, right? That's really what it is. It's the most vulnerable state where you just don't need to perform, don't need to do. It's just your body's being accepted. That's why that acceptance and gratitude and safety, it's probably the safest moment for the average Joe.
Tell me that. You said one little thing. They don't need to perform anymore.
Well, again, there's all this pressure to perform. Is my partner going to orgasm? Am I going to maintain it? I mean, it's just a lot of pressure that, once that is off, now it's just about being in that moment. It's like I was able to perform. That felt great. My partner feels great. Both of us accepting and loving each other. Now there's so much room for the emotional component.
And is this when men want to open up and talk, you think? Or they just want to be in the physical? No, that was not. That was a please me, say yes, but that was a no.
No, it's a big question. It's just so all over the place. Sometimes men just want to fall asleep. That's a great way of falling asleep. And sometimes it's a great time to talk about, like, how lucky are we? I mean, why don't we do this more often? And sometimes they might want to just now, you seize that opportunity to kind of improve. So there's a million ways it can go. But the level of engagement can tend to be really high afterwards.
So they don't want to talk about their relationship. They want to talk about, how do we do this better? This was so great.
Let's talk about how great it is. Let's high five each other. Did you like that? That was pretty amazing. Was that the best ever? I mean, you're just looking for good stuff.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you, Joe, for sharing all that.
Hey, been a lot of Joes out there having these conversations, right? And we don't, unfortunately, get a lot of practice talking about these things or thinking about these things. So what we did in the first part is identify how can we assess our scores, because then if we're not happy with our scores, what's the plan for improving them? So that's what we're going to do now. How can Joe improve these 4 areas pre, during, and post sex?
Yeah. This is a little tricky, just because I can see how we need the Jane to help the Joe.
Right, of course.
Yeah.
This is a dance, right? You need both people, and they could feed off each other either positively or negatively. But for the remainder of this, let's just kind of buzz through what Joe might be able to do. All right. So if Joe notices his heart is not so engaged pre,
right?
How do you become more intentional about that if you don't like your score? Right? You might want to think about even a memory of prior events. Or you think about your wedding or your honeymoon of a great date. Like, just thinking about your partner is more than just the physical, but just kind of thinking about the engagement, dancing together. It's amazing what even a memory can do to start priming that heart to start becoming more engaged in a process. Right? And if you're priming the heart, it's also a good way of starting to check in with the body. How do you do that check-in scan of your whole body? Where are you? Are you feeling a little anticipation, a little nervousness in your stomach? Do you feel a little bit of tension in your neck? Can you feel your hands kind of excited? How do we even do that scan? And that's what I would encourage my listeners, do a body scan. Just incorporate that into your pre. Most of us never even doing it. But the very fact that you do it, you'll start seeing how much more is actually going on besides just your penis to start increasing those body scores to get a little bit higher.
So like excited hands in terms of excited to touch kind of hands?
Yeah, it could be excited. It could be nervous. I mean, a lot of men feel that in their hands and don't even notice that, right? How do you kind of just honor what your hands are trying to do? Right, what they're waiting for, what they're already anticipating what could happen. Right, for a lot of men, they're trying to lower the penis score, to not be so focused on the pressure of that, or this is about engaging and being present. So again, sometimes people might want to lower scores instead of higher them.
This is just a random idea, but like getting in the shower together and like having bodies slide all over bodies. I mean, that might be a way to increase your entire body experience.
Yes. Well, now you're in the during sex spot, right? Well, you're talking about that as foreplay.
I was thinking of that before sex.
All right.
I guess you'd be touching each other, right? So, okay.
I think the average Joe gets all of that touch going on in the shower. It's hard to see that as that's the act itself. But maybe we could go eat dinner afterwards and take a break and then kind of reconvene. But I think noticing my mind, is it really aroused focusing on different things? What could be, are we going to bring a toy in? Are we going to think about this? Are we going to say some words?
That's
whatever.
Your mind, right?
That's the mind part of it, right? If you're happy with your score, if you're not, how do you to be more intentional to kind of incorporate that beforehand?
I would definitely say what I hear from women in terms of the mind engagement is clever innuendo. I mean, women are just suckers for, talking about how beautiful they are, saying something clever. I mean, some women, I suppose, respond to junior high kind of jokes, but a lot of women really want something that is seductive and smart.
Yeah.
About going to bed.
Well, this could be a whole nother episode on what women could help men increase these scores, because that really would be important. Like, how do you have these lines that are going to be more attuned to land well for the women?
True.
So let's switch towards the sex itself.
Okay.
Right? If you notice you're an average Joe and your heart score is low, how does it become more intentional to make eye contact? To focus on how your heart is feeling. Can you bring that gratitude in? Can you feel that sense of warmth, right? Which is just your heart communicating that there's something emotional, spiritual, that's really important that's happening here.
I think the eye contact that you just said, that really resonates with me because it's so, having somebody look at you is so vulnerable. Look at you in the eyes.
Sure.
I mean, certainly look at your body, that's vulnerable too, but looking at you in the eyes is very person to person.
Exactly.
That's a beautiful thing.
And how do you, if you want your body score to increase, how do you do that body scan that says, how are my shoulders doing here? How are my feet doing? There I go again, right? But as it's rubbing against the bed, or can you feel your knee, your inner thighs, your chest? There's so many areas. Your skin is your greatest sex organ. How do we just take a moment to notice how it's speaking to us?
One of the things you said, that men feel this pressure that they got to have an erection coming into the bed, and then they got to keep it until they get to intercourse. That's just a very high expectation. I mean, George, if you're over 30, I mean, it's just not going to happen. And so the man has to be able to speak about how he likes to be touched and what he's needing. And, I mean, it's going to go up and down.
Yeah,
guys.
Up and down. There we go again. We had to end with that one. That's the wittiness that these women love. And men love it too. Well, we got to end here, Lori. And again,
no.
what we're hoping for is we're just starting the conversation. Once now you go to the afterglow, you go into the after sex. Like if you want your score to increase, you want your heart and your body to scores, focus on the cuddling, focus on the touch, focus on if your score is really low. You might want to say to your penis, thank you. This is great. Like it's still part of you afterwards. Is just to notice that. I mean, there's so many ways. And I don't want people to feel like the scores that we just threw out there as an average Joe should be your score, right? Just give you a freedom, whatever it is. The spirit of what we're trying to do is if you identify a score that's lower than you want, then you can come up with a targeted plan for increasing that. And what we guarantee is if your numbers increase, the way you experience sex will improve and be enhanced, and the levels of engagement and vitality will increase with it.
Okay.
So let's come up with this plan, and let's more importantly put it into practice.
Okay, and let's go talk about Average Jane. That sounds fun too.
I'm looking forward. Yes.
Okay. Thanks for listening to Foreplay Radio.
Keep it hot.
Hey, Foreplay fam. This is an important day and a difficult day for my co-host, George Fowler. Many of you know, and if you don't already, please listen to his introductory episode, that he was a first responder in the fire department on 9/11. He risked his life many, many times to look for survivors, and he lost so many friends. And I would just love it if you would join me on social media today. I know that tens of thousands of you listen on our drop day, so please join me over on Foreplay Radio at Facebook. We'll have a post there, and you can send your love to George, your gratitude for his work here at Foreplay, as well as for his bravery and courage on 9/11. Thank you so much.
Call in your questions to the Foreplay question voicemail. Dial 833-MY-4PLAY. That's 833-4-PLAY. And we'll use the questions for our mailbag episodes. All content is for entertainment purposes only and should not be considered as a substitute for therapy by a licensed clinician or as medical advice from a doctor.